"This house will be perfect for Marcus's fresh start," my mother announced at Christmas dinner, casually handing over the mashed potatoes. "Emma, you'll need to move out by next weekend." I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. My name is Emma Sullivan. I'm 32 years old, and my mother had just given away my house, the one I worked 10 years to save for and bought 3 years ago. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my hands trembled. "Don't be difficult," my father said without looking up from his plate. "Your brother needs this more than you do. After everything he's been through." Across from me sat Marcus, 35, smug and the golden child, even after dropping out of college, running 3 businesses into the ground and cheating on his wife. "This is my house," I said firmly. "I bought it. You can't just give it away." My mother's smile vanished. "Actually, we can. Your father's name is still on the deed." We spoke to a lawyer. It was true. My dad co-signed when I bought the house. I'd planned to refinance, but I'd been busy, and I trusted them. Clearly that was a mistake. "You're being selfish," Marcus added, loading his plate with more turkey. "I have nowhere to go. You can rent. It's not like you have a family." His words hit harder than I expected. Apparently, focusing on my career as an environmental scientist made my need for a home less valid. "I'm not leaving," I said, standing. "I pay the mortgage. I renovated every inch of this house." "You can't." "We can and we will," my father cut in. "Sometimes family sacrifices. Marcus needs this." I scanned their faces. My mother's righteous glare, my father's dismissive shrug, Marcus's smirk. They'd planned this. Waited until Christmas. Expected I'd cave. "I have work to do," I muttered, walking away from the table to the one room in the house that was truly mine. My home office. It held years of my work. Research papers, environmental studies, awards. My family never cared about any of it. But to me it meant everything. Heard footsteps. My mother stood in the doorway, red with fury. "You're being ridiculous," she snapped. "Your brother needs a new start, and you're acting like a brat." "I'm acting like a homeowner," I replied. "This is my house, Mom." She scoffed. "Playing with dirt and trees isn't real work. Marcus has real problems." Before I could answer, she swept her arm across my desk, scattering papers, knocking over awards. Then she started pulling books from the shelves. "If you won't be reasonable," she hissed, "maybe you need some motivation." I didn't stop her. I just watched, cold, calm, as she tore my office apart. "Now he'll know we're serious," she said, stepping over the wreckage. "Start packing. Marcus moves in next weekend." Left. I heard her laughing with Marcus. My father told him they'd help move his things in. I pulled out my phone and made 2 calls. First to my lawyer Diana Martinez. She'd handled my environmental contracts. Second to Mr. Sullivan, my grandfather's old friend and the county records keeper. "Emma," Diana answered. "It's Christmas. What's wrong?" "I need those documents we filed last summer," I said. "The ones my family doesn't know about." "Of course," she said. "Does this involve the private deed transfer?" "It might," I replied, smiling for the first time all night. They thought I'd be too naive to protect myself. But when Marcus started circling my house after his divorce, I made preparations. They had no idea what I'd done. The week after Christmas, things escalated. They showed up every day, measuring rooms, boxing things up, as if my refusal to move was a temporary nuisance. "We enrolled Marcus's kids in the local school," my mother announced Tuesday. "They're excited for their new rooms." I didn't respond. Just kept documenting the damage she'd done. Every torn paper, every broken award, exactly as Diana instructed. By Wednesday, Marcus brought a moving truck. "Just getting a head start," he grinned, trying to unlock the front door, with a key my parents must have given him. But they were about to learn the hard way. This house wasn't theirs to give. Didn't work. I had changed the locks the day after Christmas. "Trespassing now?" I asked calmly from my porch swing as Marcus struggled with the doorknob. That'll be fun to explain. He flushed but tried to keep his smug confidence. Mom and Dad said. Mom and Dad don't own this house, I cut him off. You might want to hold off on wasting more money on moving trucks. The next day, my father showed up wielding guilt like a weapon. Your brother's children need stability, he said. After the divorce, they need a proper home. Are you really going to deny your own niece and nephew? Marcus should have thought about that before cheating on Sarah, I replied without looking up from my laptop. His poor choices aren't my responsibility. He slammed his hand down on my desk. This isn't a request, Emma. We've given you time to be reasonable. Either start packing or we'll do it for you. I looked up at him slowly. Is that a threat, Dad? It's a promise, he growled. This house is still partly mine, and I'm giving it to your brother. I didn't argue. I just returned to my report. Diana, my lawyer, had assured me everything was in place. We just needed one more misstep from them. We didn't have to wait long. On Friday morning, I came home from a meeting to find my mother and Marcus inside my house. Boxes were everywhere. My books and research materials had been tossed carelessly into piles. What are you doing? I asked, already slipping my phone into my pocket and hitting record. Since you won't be reasonable, my mother huffed, dropping a stack of journals into a box. We're helping you move. Marcus's furniture arrives tomorrow. You're breaking and entering, I said calmly. It's not breaking in if we have a key, Marcus laughed. Dad's name is still on the deed. We have every right to be here. I scanned the room. His cheap sports memorabilia leaned against my walls. Toys scattered across my hardwood floors. Last chance, I said softly. Pack up and leave. You really don't want to do this. Or what? Marcus scoffed. You'll call the cops on your own family. You're always so dramatic. This is happening, Emma. I pulled out my phone and made the call, putting it on speaker. Diana, they've broken in and are removing my things. Yes, I'm recording. Can we proceed? My mother stopped mid-pack. Who's Diana? My lawyer, I said, still calm. She's very interested in the property records Dad thinks give him the right to gift my house. What records? Marcus asked, unease creeping into his voice. The one showing Dad's name was removed from the deed 6 months ago, I said. The ones proving I'm the sole legal owner. Which means what you're doing right now is criminal trespassing and attempted theft. That's not possible, my mother whispered. Your father never signed anything. Actually, I said with a cold smile. He did. Remember last summer when I refinanced and asked him to sign a few documents? He didn't read them, just signed. Turns out they were transfer of ownership papers. This house is mine, completely and legally. Silence. Marcus went pale. My mother's hands trembled as she slowly set down the box she'd been holding. You're lying, she said, voice brittle. You couldn't have. She was cut off by the sound of car doors slamming outside. Through the window, I saw Diana getting out, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. I'm not lying, I said softly. And now you get to explain to the police why you're in my home without permission, destroying my property, and trying to illegally remove me. Let's see how that plays in Marcus's custody case. Marcus turned ghost white. He was already on thin ice with the judge after the affair. This could sink him. Emma, please. My mother started, but I raised a hand. Get out. Take your boxes, key, and leave. Or the police can help you. They bolted, practically knocking Diana over as she reached the door. But it wasn't over. Not even close. That day sent shockwaves through the family. They thought I was the quiet, accommodating daughter they could walk over. The one who wouldn't fight back. They were wrong. They had no idea what I was capable of. But they were about to find out. Diana filed restraining orders against my mother and Marcus using the footage from Christmas and the recordings of their break-in attempt. The police report was damning, especially the photos of my destroyed office and their unauthorized move-in effort. The next morning my father showed up alone, face flushed with rage. The restraining order hadn't included him. "How dare you?" he thundered from the porch. "Calling the police on your own mother. Filing a restraining order against your brother." I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. How dare I protect my property? How dare I stop them from illegally forcing me out of my own home? "Is that what you're asking, Dad?" His voice dropped low. "I signed those papers. I helped you." "No," I corrected. "You signed without reading, just like always. You assumed I was still your naive little girl who needed Daddy's help with boring paperwork. That was your mistake." He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he'd been so focused on Marcus that he'd missed who I'd become. "Check the property records," I suggested. "While you're at it, check who owns the mineral rights to that worthless land you sold me last year." His face paled. He thought he was doing me a favor, letting me play scientist. What he didn't know was that my research had revealed significant rare earth deposits on that land, resources that were now legally mine. "You knew," he whispered. "I'm not just playing with dirt samples," I said, echoing my mother's mockery. "I'm a respected environmental scientist. The stupid reports about trees you dismissed, they've made me more successful than you could ever imagine." The truth hit him hard. They had spent years overlooking me, treating me like a backup plan, the daughter who would always give in for the sake of family. "The restraining orders stay," I said. "If anyone sets foot on my property again, I'll press charges. Family doesn't steal from family." He left without another word. But I knew it wasn't over. Soon after, the family group chat exploded. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Most took my parents' side without even asking what had really happened. "How could you do this to your brother? What about his poor children?" So I posted the footage. My mother tearing apart my office, Marcus hauling boxes into my home. The chat went dead silent. 2 weeks later, Sarah, Marcus's ex-wife, showed up at my door. "I heard what happened," she said, pulling me into a hug. "I always knew they favored him, but this is insane." She told me the custody judge had revoked Marcus's weekend visitation rights after reading the police report. "The judge said breaking and entering shows serious lack of judgment," she explained. "Your parents are blaming you for ruining his chances." "He ruined his own chances," I replied. "Just like he ruined your marriage." Sarah stayed for coffee. For the first time, we really talked. She told me about the years my parents spent enabling Marcus, covering up his failures, smoothing over his lies, turning a blind eye to his behavior. "You're the first person who ever made him face consequences," she said, admiration in her voice. A month later, I received a letter from my mother. Inside, a check for the damage to my office. Alongside it, a note that read more like a guilt trip than an apology. "While we disagree with your actions, we're willing to move past this if you'll be reasonable. Marcus still needs help." I returned the check with a brief note. "The damage has already been documented with my insurance. Any future communication should go through my lawyer." The changes in my life weren't loud, but they were powerful. I poured myself into work. Published research that gained national attention. The mineral rights from that worthless land funded a sustainable mining contract that would support my work for years. I rebuilt my office, stronger, better. I replaced every broken award. Reprinted every torn report. Except for one. Kept one torn page. Framed it. A reminder of why boundaries matter. Sarah began bringing the kids by sometimes. Supervised visits. I got to be the aunt I always wanted to be. Not the one my family tried to guilt me into becoming. The kids loved exploring my lab, asking questions about rocks and trees and rivers, things their father had always mocked. Eventually, my parents and Marcus moved away, too ashamed to face the community. Last I heard, Marcus was living in their basement, still waiting on his fresh start. As for me, I had peace. In my home. On my terms. Sometimes, setting boundaries means being called difficult. Sometimes being difficult means you're finally doing something right. The house they tried to take became more than just a home. It became a symbol of self-respect, of refusing to be silenced, of strength. The framed property deed still hangs on my wall, right next to my latest research award. A quiet reminder that the underestimated ones, the quiet, reliable, overlooked ones, are often the strongest of all.